The ice in Antarctica cracked. No one heard it at first. 3 miles below the surface, something ancient stirred. Dr. Allison Wright checked her equipment again. The readings made no sense. Her research station had detected energy pulses coming from deep under the ice for 3 days now. Each pulse was stronger than the last. "Hey, Paul, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Dr. Paul Garcia moved across the small research hut, his breath visible in the cold air. "That can't be right," he said, adjusting his glasses. "Nothing down there should be giving off energy like that." Allison nodded. "I know. That's why I've been running the tests over and over." The next morning, Allison led a small team to the exact spot where the readings were strongest. The wind howled around them as they set up their drilling equipment. It would take days to reach whatever was down there. 5 days later, their drill broke through into an open space. The readings went wild. "There's a cave or something down there," said Eric Jones, their engineering expert. His eyes were wide with excitement. "And it's huge." The team lowered cameras into the darkness. What they saw made them gasp. It wasn't a natural cave. The walls were smooth and covered in strange symbols that glowed with a soft blue light. In the center stood a large structure shaped like a crystal. "That's not ours," whispered Allison. "That's not human." Within 24 hours, military personnel from 7 countries arrived at the site. They expanded the drill hole and sent down the first exploration team. Allison insisted on going with them. The chamber was warm despite being surrounded by ice. The air was fresh and breathable. The crystal structure in the center was 30 feet tall and seemed to pulse with light. "It looks like some kind of pod," Allison said, approaching it carefully. She placed her hand on the surface. It was warm. Inside the crystal, she could make out a humanoid shape. As her hand touched the surface, the light pulsed brighter. The symbols on the walls began to glow more intensely. "Everyone back," shouted Colonel Frank Winters, the American military commander. "We don't know what." He didn't finish his sentence. A hum filled the chamber, growing louder. The crystal began to crack. "It's opening," Allison said, unable to move away despite the colonel's orders. The military personnel raised their weapons as the crystal split open. Warm liquid spilled onto the floor. The figure inside moved. He looked human, a tall man with golden skin and silver hair. His eyes opened, revealing irises that glowed with the same blue light as the symbols on the walls. He stepped forward, completely naked but seemingly unbothered by this fact, or by the weapons pointed at him. His eyes locked with Allison's. She felt a strange connection, like he was looking into her mind. Then he spoke, in perfect English. "I am Elon, last guardian of the Sentinel Order. I have slept for 50,000 years. He looked around at the humans. "You have grown since we left you. What are you?" Colonel Winters demanded. "I am Earth's protector," Elon said simply. "And I have awakened because Earth is in danger." The military team exchanged nervous glances. Allison stepped forward. "What danger?" she asked. "The Void Heralds have returned," Elon said. His face showed genuine concern. "They have taken a new form, a new name. They call themselves the Nexus Combine now. But their purpose remains the same, to consume all life." The chamber trembled. The symbols on the walls flashed urgently. "They have already entered your solar system," Elon said. "We have little time." Colonel Winters lowered his weapon slightly. "How do you know our language?" "I took it from her mind when she touched my chamber," Elon said, nodding toward Allison. "I mean no harm. I was left here to protect humanity when my people departed this galaxy." "Where are your clothes?" asked one of the soldiers, breaking the tension. Elon looked down, then waved his hand. The air around him shimmered, and suddenly he was dressed in a close-fitting suit that seemed made of the same material as the crystal. "We must act quickly," he said. "The enemy I was created to fight has returned. And this time, they know I am here." Commander Ryan Baker stood on the bridge of the U.S. horizon. His ship floated at the edge of Earth's solar system, beyond the orbit of Pluto. The view screen showed a fleet of 5 alien ships approaching. They were unlike anything humans had built, smooth and curved, with glowing blue lines running along their hulls. "Sir, they're requesting communication," said Lisa Reeves, his communications officer. Ryan took a deep breath. This was humanity's first official contact with aliens. He straightened his uniform and nodded. "Open the channel." The screen changed to show a humanoid figure. It had pale skin that seemed almost translucent. Its eyes were large and entirely black. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved. "Greetings, humans. We are the Nexus Combine. We come in peace and wish to establish relations with your species." Ryan followed the first contact protocol that had been created for this mission. "We welcome you on behalf of Earth. I am Commander Ryan Baker of the United States of America, representing the United Earth Council." The alien's face didn't show emotion. "We have been observing your world for some time. Your development has been interesting." Something about the way it said "interesting" made Ryan uneasy. "We have traveled far to meet with you," Ryan replied. "We hope this will be the beginning of a friendly relationship between our peoples." "Indeed." The alien paused. "We have come to reclaim certain assets on your world. Assets that belong to us." Ryan frowned. "Assets? I'm not sure I understand." "A guardian. A protector. One who was left behind. He is our property." The mood on the bridge shifted. Ryan exchanged glances with his second-in-command, John Porter. "I'm not aware of any alien guardian on Earth," Ryan said carefully. The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do not pretend ignorance. The one who sleeps beneath the ice. The Sentinel. He has been activated. We can sense it." Ryan's heart raced. 3 days ago, they had received encrypted messages about some kind of discovery in Antarctica, but his ship had already been positioned for this meeting, so he didn't know the details. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Ryan said. "Perhaps we should discuss this further when—" "No misunderstanding." The alien cut him off. "The Sentinel belongs to us. Your species is harboring stolen property. This is your only warning. Surrender the Sentinel or face elimination." The communication cut off abruptly. The alien ships began to move, spreading out to surround the U.S. horizon and its 2 escort vessels. "Shields up," Ryan shouted. "Prepare to retreat." But it was too late. Energy beams lashed out from the alien ships, striking the 2 escort vessels. They exploded almost instantly. "Evasive maneuvers," Ryan ordered as his ship rocked from a glancing hit. "Get us out of here." The U.S. horizon spun and accelerated away from the alien fleet. More energy beams cut through space around them. One hit their engines, damaging them severely. "FTL drive is offline," reported Kyle Daniels, the ship's engineer. "We're running on backup power." "Keep going," Ryan said grimly. "We need to warn Earth." For 3 days, they limped back toward the inner solar system, making emergency repairs as they went. The alien fleet didn't pursue them, continuing its advance toward Earth at a steady pace. At night, Ryan had strange dreams. He saw a golden figure standing in space, hands raised against a tide of darkness. The figure turned to look at him, and Ryan saw eyes glowing with blue light. "They're coming," the figure said in his dream. "But I am awake now." On the 4th day, as they passed the orbit of Neptune, they received a transmission from Earth. It contained information about the discovery in Antarctica and the awakening of an ancient being who called himself Elon, the last of the Sentinels. Ryan stared at the image of the golden-skinned alien who claimed to be Earth's protector. It was the same face he had seen in his dreams. "How quickly can we reach Earth?" he asked John. "At our current speed, 3 more days." "That might not be fast enough," Ryan said quietly. "The Nexus Combine will be right behind us, and they're coming to kill Earth's only defender." Elon walked around the military base that had been set up near the Antarctic discovery site. He moved with a grace that seemed too perfect to be human. Scientists and soldiers watched him with a mix of fear and wonder. Dr. Allison Wright followed him closely. In the week since his awakening, she had become his unofficial guide to the modern world. "Your people have advanced quickly," Ellen said, looking at a fighter jet parked nearby. "When the Sentinels left Earth, humans were still using stone tools. That was 50,000 years ago, according to you." Allison replied, "We've been busy." Ellen smiled slightly. "Yes, but not busy enough for what is coming." Colonel Winters approached them with a serious look on his face. "We just received word from NASA. The U.S. Horizon is returning from the outer solar system with a warning. They made contact with aliens who call themselves the Nexus Combine." Ellen's face darkened. "Then it is as I feared. The Void Heralds have found me. The ship's commander reports that 2 escort vessels were destroyed." Colonel Winters continued, "The aliens demanded we surrender something they called the Sentinel." "They want me," Ellen said simply. "I am the last Sentinel, the last Guardian created to fight the Void Heralds before my makers left this galaxy." "Why do they want you?" Allison asked. "Because I know their weakness," Ellen replied, "and because the weapons and technology I can access were created specifically to defeat them." Soldiers entered the hangar where they stood. They carried heavy weapons and wore full tactical gear. "Mr. Elon," said a new man in a suit, "I'm Agent Ben Lewis from the United States government. I need you to come with us to a secure facility." Elon looked at the men with their weapons. "You fear me." "We're just being cautious," Agent Lewis said. "An alien fleet is approaching Earth, apparently looking for you. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Elon's eyes flashed with blue light. "I understand your caution, but there is no time for this." He raised his hand. Every weapon held by the soldiers suddenly glowed blue and became too hot to hold. The men dropped them with shouts of surprise and pain. "I mean no harm," Ellen said calmly. "But your weapons cannot stop the Nexus Combine. Even your nuclear weapons would be useless against them." Agent Lewis stepped back, alarmed. "What did you just do?" "A simple disruption of the energy patterns in your weapons," Ellen explained. "They will function again in an hour. I wish to show you that if I meant harm, I could have caused it already." The soldiers looked at each other nervously. "The Void Heralds, the Nexus Combine, as they now call themselves, will be here within 2 weeks," Ellen continued. "They consume worlds and enslave species. They have done this across 3 galaxies. And you expect us to just trust you?" Agent Lewis asked. "I was created to protect humanity," Ellen said. "It is my purpose, but I need your help to do it." Colonel Winters stepped forward. "What kind of help?" "I need to access the second facility," Ellen said. "The one beneath your ocean, in what you call the Mariana Trench. That is where the weapons we will need are stored." Allison looked at him in shock. "There's another alien facility on Earth." "Yes. The Sentinels left Earth with defenses, ships, weapons, technology, all designed to be used by humans when the time came." Ellen looked at her intently. "But only certain humans can use them." "What do you mean, certain humans?" Colonel Winters asked. "Before the Sentinels left, they modified some humans genetically," Ellen explained. "These changes were designed to be passed down through generations. Those who carry these genes can interface with Sentinel technology." "You're saying some people on Earth have alien DNA?" Agent Lewis asked skeptically. "Not alien," Ellen corrected. "Modified human. And Dr. Wright is one of them." He turned to Allison. "That is why you could activate my chamber when you touched it. No one else could have woken me." Allison stared at him, unable to speak. "We need to find the others like her," Ellen said. "And we need to get to the ocean facility before the Nexus Combine arrives and darkness falls over your world." 3 days later, Allison found herself on a military submarine heading toward the deepest part of the ocean. Ellen stood beside her, looking calm despite the tension around them. Lieutenant Kevin Martinez, a Navy SEAL with special training in underwater operations, completed their small team. How much further? Elon asked the submarine captain. We're approaching the Mariana Trench now, the captain replied. But we can't go all the way down. No submarine can survive that depth. Elon nodded. We will need to use the pods. The what? Lieutenant Martinez asked. Elon walked to a storage compartment and opened it. Inside were 3 spherical devices about the size of basketballs. They were made of the same crystal-like material as his chamber in Antarctica. These will protect us and take us to the facility, he explained. The captain looked doubtful. Those tiny things will protect you from the crushing pressure down there. Sentinel technology, Elon said simply. It has kept me alive for 50,000 years. An hour later, Allison, Elon, and Lieutenant Martinez were in a small chamber at the bottom of the submarine. Each held one of the crystal spheres. Press your palm to the surface and think about activating it, Elon instructed. Allison did as she was told. The sphere grew warm in her hands and began to glow with blue light. Lieutenant Martinez tried the same, but nothing happened. It's not working for me, he said with frustration. Try again, Elon encouraged. The genetic markers can be dormant. Sometimes they need to be awakened. Martinez closed his eyes and concentrated hard. After a few moments, his sphere flickered and then glowed dimly. Good, said Elon. The connection is weak but sufficient. They opened the hatch beneath them. Water began to fill the chamber. When I say now, hold the sphere above your head, Elon instructed. It will expand to surround you. The cold water reached their chests. Now, Allison lifted her sphere. It expanded rapidly, forming a bubble around her body. She could still breathe normally, though she now floated in the water. Beside her, Elon and Martinez were enclosed in similar bubbles. They dropped through the open hatch and began to sink into the dark ocean. The bubbles glowed with enough light to see a few feet ahead, but beyond that was blackness. They descended for what seemed like hours, going deeper than any human had gone before. Finally, Elon pointed. There. At first, Allison saw nothing. Then patterns of light began to appear in the darkness. Lines of soft blue illumination formed the outline of a massive structure built into the side of the underwater cliff. It was easily the size of 10 aircraft carriers. Their bubbles carried them to an opening that lit up as they approached. Water drained away as they entered an airlock. When it was empty, their protective bubbles disappeared. Welcome to the Armada base, Elon said. They walked through corridors that lit up as they approached. The walls were covered with the same symbols as the Antarctic chamber. Finally, they reached a vast open space. Allison gasped. Floating in rows were hundreds of ships. They ranged from small craft the size of fighter jets to massive vessels larger than anything humans had built. This is what the Sentinels left for Earth, Elon said. Your inheritance. Your defense against the darkness. These ships, Lieutenant Martinez whispered. They could fly in space. Yes, and they are powered by technology far beyond what the Nexus Combined possesses. Allison walked toward the nearest ship. It was sleek and beautiful, with the same flowing lines as Elon's crystal chamber. How do we use them? She asked. Like the spheres, Elon explained. Those with the genetic markers can bond with the ships and control them with their minds. A noise made them turn. The communication panel on the wall had activated. The face of Colonel Winters appeared. Dr. Wright, we've got a situation up here, he said urgently. The U.S. Horizon just arrived in Earth orbit. Commander Baker reports the Nexus Combined Fleet is right behind them. They'll reach Earth in less than 3 weeks. Elon's face grew serious. We need to begin immediately. We must find the others who carry the genetic markers, and we must prepare these ships for battle. Others? Allison asked. Yes, Elon replied. We will need at least 100 humans with active genetic markers to pilot these ships. We must find them quickly. Lieutenant Martinez looked at the vast fleet of alien ships. How do we find 100 people with alien DNA? I can help with that, Ilan said. But first, we need to activate the base's tracking system. He placed his hand on a control panel. The entire facility hummed with new energy. A holographic map of Earth appeared in the center of the room, with hundreds of tiny blue dots scattered across it. There, Ilan said, each light is a human carrying active sentinel genetic markers. Those of the pilots we need to find. The search for humans with sentinel genetic markers began immediately. Military aircraft and ships from around the world were sent to collect the special people Ilan had identified. Some came willingly, excited by the strange adventure. Others needed more convincing. Olivia Freeman was studying at a small college in Kansas when two men in suits came to her dorm room. At first, she thought they were joking. "You're saying I have alien DNA?" She laughed. "Right. Not alien," the agent corrected, just as Ilan had. "Modified human DNA. And we need your help to save Earth." 2 days later, Olivia stood in the Antarctic base, staring in wonder at Ilan. He handed her a small crystal device similar to the transport spheres. "Try to activate it," he said gently. Olivia placed her hand on it, feeling silly. Then she gasped as it began to glow with bright blue light, brighter than it had for many others. "Your connection is very strong," Ilan observed. "You may be able to pilot the larger ships." Samuel Grant had a different reaction when they found him. The retired Marine was fishing at a lake in Montana when a helicopter landed nearby. "I always knew there was something different about me," he said calmly when they explained why they had come. "My entire military career, I could sense things before they happened. Saved my squad more than once. That's one way the genetic markers can show themselves," Ilan explained later when Samuel arrived at the base. "Enhanced intuition, especially in danger." Finding Darnell Jackson proved more difficult. The brilliant programmer lived alone in a cabin in the woods of Oregon, suspicious of any visitors. It took Commander Ryan Baker himself to convince him. "Look, I've seen these aliens," Ryan told Darnell through the cabin door. "I watched them destroy 2 ships without warning. We need your help." Eventually, Darnell agreed to come. When he met Ilan and touched one of the crystal devices, it responded with unique patterns of light. "Fascinating," Darnell said, his suspicion replaced by curiosity. "The interface seems to respond to my thought patterns differently." "Your mind has a rare ability to connect deeply with sentinel systems," Ilan explained. Within 2 weeks, they had gathered 87 people with active genetic markers. They came from every continent and all walks of life. What they shared was the ability to connect with sentinel technology. Ilan began training them at both the Antarctic base and the underwater Armada base. Those with stronger connections learned to pilot the ships in simulations. Others worked with smaller devices and weapons. Meanwhile, Earth's governments prepared conventional defenses. Military satellites were repositioned. Nuclear weapons were readied, despite Ilan's warning that they would be ineffective. Not everyone trusted the ancient guardian. Some nations refused to send their citizens with genetic markers. Others demanded access to sentinel technology for themselves. "They fear what they do not understand," Ilan told Allison as they watched the new recruits train. "Can you blame them?" she asked. "A few weeks ago, no one knew aliens existed. Now we're preparing for an invasion." Their conversation was interrupted when Colonel Winters rushed in. "We've got movement," he said urgently. "The Nexus Combine has sent an advance force. 6 ships approaching from the dark side of the moon. They'll reach Earth orbit in 5 hours." Ilan's face grew serious. "They are testing your defenses, seeing what weapons you possess." "Our space-based weapons platforms are ready," Colonel Winters said. "And we have fighter jets prepared to launch if they enter the atmosphere." "Those will not stop them," Ilan warned. "We need to use sentinel ships." "But our pilots aren't ready," Allison protested. "The training simulations were supposed to last another week at least." "We have no choice," Ilan replied. I will lead a small team and 5 of the smaller vessels. Those with the strongest connections will join me." He turned to Colonel Winters. "Have your forces engage as planned. It will distract them while we approach from the underwater base." As they hurried to prepare, Allison caught Elend's arm. "You're going up there too. Isn't that dangerous for you? If you die." "If I die, the knowledge of how to defeat the Nexus Combined dies with me," he admitted. "But I cannot ask these humans to risk their lives while I stay safe below." 4 hours later, Elend stood with his chosen pilots, Olivia, Samuel, Darnell, and 2 others who had shown exceptional ability. Allison hugged each of them before they entered their transport spheres. "Come back safely," she told Elend. "All of you." "We will try," he replied. But today, humanity fights its first battle against the darkness that has consumed 1,000 worlds. And the stars will watch. The first battle for Earth began in the cold emptiness of space. The 6 Nexus Combined ships moved into Earth orbit like silent predators. They were black and sleek, with red energy pulsing along their hulls. Earth responded immediately. 3 military satellites turned and fired laser weapons at the alien vessels. The beams hit their targets but seemed to do no damage. The Nexus ships didn't even slow down. "All weapons are ineffective," reported the commander of the Space Defense Station. "The enemy vessels are continuing their approach." In the White House Situation Room, the president watched the screens with growing concern. "Where are these Sentinel ships we were told about?" As if in answer, 5 streaks of blue light shot up from the Pacific Ocean. They moved faster than anything humans had built, reaching orbit in minutes. Inside the lead Sentinel ship, Elend guided the controls with his mind. The ship responded instantly to his thoughts. Behind him flew Olivia, Samuel, Darnell, and a former Air Force pilot named Gray Howard. "Remember your training," Elend said through their mental communication link. "Let the ships guide your actions. They'd know how to fight this enemy." "I can feel it," Olivia replied, her voice filled with wonder. "The ship is almost alive." "In a way, they are," Elend confirmed. "Now follow my lead." The 5 Sentinel ships formed a V pattern and accelerated toward the Nexus Combined vessels. The enemy ships immediately broke formation and moved to attack. Red energy beams fired from the Nexus ships. The Sentinel vessels dodged with impossible speed, the human pilots guided by the ship's built-in reflexes. "Now, activate your weapons," Elend commanded. Blue light gathered at the front of each Sentinel ship. When they fired, streams of energy that looked like liquid light cut through space toward their targets. The first Nexus ship was hit directly. Its black hull cracked, red energy spilling out like blood. The ship didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to wither, folding in on itself before going dark. "What just happened?" Samuel asked as he circled around for another attack. "Sentinel weapons target the energy systems the Void Heralds use," Elend explained. "They do not destroy, they disrupt." The remaining Nexus ships fought back fiercely. One of them landed a glancing blow on Gray's ship, sending it spinning. He quickly regained control. "I'm okay," he reported. "But that hurt. I felt it like it hit my own body." "The Neuralink connects you deeply to the vessel," Elend warned. "Be careful." 2 more Nexus ships fell to the Sentinel weapons. Then something unexpected happened. The remaining 3 enemy vessels changed shape. Parts of their hulls opened to reveal what looked like living creatures fused with machinery. "What are those?" Darnell asked, his voice shaking. "The truth of the Nexus Combine," Elend said grimly. "They do not build ships. They grow them around enslaved beings from worlds they've conquered." Horrified, the human pilots watched as the organic parts of the ships reached out with tentacle-like appendages. One grabbed Darnell's ship, holding it in place while another Nexus vessel prepared to fire. "Break free," Elend shouted. Darnell's panic flowed through their mental link. His ship's engines flared brightly as he pushed them beyond normal limits. The tentacle snapped, and his ship barely escaped the energy beam that followed. Working together, the 5 Sentinel vessels surrounded the remaining enemy ships. Their coordinated attack overwhelmed the Nexus defenses. One by one, the alien vessels went dark. "We did it," Olivia breathed as the last enemy ship drifted powerless in orbit. "This battle only," Elon cautioned. "The main fleet will be much larger and more powerful." They guided their ships back to Earth, landing them at the underwater base. When they emerged, they were greeted by cheering military personnel and scientists. Allison rushed forward to hug each pilot. "You're all safe," she said with relief. Then she noticed Elon's troubled expression. "What's wrong?" "We won." "There is something I must show you," he said quietly. "Something I found during the battle." He led Allison to a private room with a view screen. On it, he displayed images of the organic parts they had seen inside the enemy ships. "The Nexus combined does not just destroy worlds," Elon explained. "They harvest living beings and turn them into components of their war machines. What you see here were once people from a world called Lyra." Allison covered her mouth in horror. "They're still alive in there." "In a way," Elon said sadly. "Their consciousness is gone, but their bodies are kept functioning to power the ships." "Why are you telling me this?" Elon's glowing eyes met hers. "Because the Void Heralds aren't just coming for me. They're coming to harvest Earth, and they are coming in far greater numbers than we face today." The days after the first battle were filled with intense training. More people with the special genetic markers arrived at the bases. Elon pushed them harder than before, knowing time was running out. "The main Nexus combined fleet will reach Earth in 10 days, he told the pilots during a training session. "They will bring hundreds of ships, not just 6. Allison worked closely with Elon, helping him understand modern humans better. As they spent more time together, she noticed he was becoming more human-like in his expressions and speech patterns. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the deck of a ship above the underwater base, Elon shared something personal. "I was not born like other Sentinels," he said quietly. "I was created specifically to fight the Void Heralds. My life force is connected to the Sentinel technology in a unique way." "What does that mean?" Allison asked. "It means I can sense the ships, the weapons, all of it. But it also means my life is tied to them. If too many ships are destroyed, it weakens me." Allison looked at him with concern. "So in the coming battle?" "Yes," Elon nodded. "I will be risking more than most." Meanwhile, not everyone supported their efforts. Jason Bell, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, arrived at the Antarctic base with a team of scientists and military officers. "We've been analyzing the data from the battle," Bell told Colonel Winters. "These Sentinel weapons are incredible. They could revolutionize our defense systems." "That's not their purpose," Elon said, entering the room unexpectedly. "The Sentinel technology was left to defend Earth, not to advance your military power." Bell frowned. "With respect, Mr. Elon, Earth's governments need to consider the future beyond this current threat. We want access to study the more powerful weapon systems. The more powerful systems are too dangerous for anyone not prepared to use them," Elon replied firmly. The argument grew heated. Bell insisted that humans should have full control of the technology on their planet. Elon refused, saying the weapons could destroy Earth if misused. That night, Allison found Elon standing alone on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "You're worried about more than just the Nexus combined, aren't you?" she asked. "Yes," he admitted. "Throughout history, when I have observed humans, they often use new technology for destruction first, creation second. The Sentinel weapons were designed to fight only one enemy." Allison stood beside him. "Not all humans are like Secretary Bell." "I know." Elon turned to her. "That is why I chose to work with you first. Your mind is both brilliant and compassionate." Their moment was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the base. They rushed to the command center, where chaos greeted them. "Someone has breached the weapons storage area," Colonel Winters shouted over the noise. "They're trying to access the high-energy cores." Security camera footage showed Secretary Bell and 3 scientists entering a restricted area of the base. They were connecting devices to one of the largest Sentinel weapons. "Stop them," Elon ordered, his voice urgent. "If they disrupt the containment field." A massive explosion rocked the base before he could finish. Warning lights flashed everywhere. "The defense grid is failing," a technician reported. "Main systems are going offline." Elon's face went pale. "The fool has damaged the central power distribution node. The base defenses are compromised." Just then, Commander Baker burst into the room. "We're picking up multiple objects entering the solar system. It's the main Nexus combined fleet. And they're a week early." Allison looked at the monitor in horror. The screen showed hundreds of alien ships approaching Earth like a swarm of deadly insects. How could they arrive so soon? Colonel Winters asked. "The energy release from the damaged weapon," Elon explained grimly. "They sensed it and accelerated their approach." He turned to Allison, pain visible in his glowing eyes. "Secretary Bell's actions have done exactly what he feared most, given us away and left us vulnerable." "What do we do now?" she asked. "We must accelerate our plans," Elon said. "Gather all pilots immediately and prepare the Lightbringer." "The what?" "The largest Sentinel ship," Elon explained. "It contains weapons that can destroy the Nexus Combined mothership, but using it comes at great cost." "What cost?" Allison pressed. Elon looked at her sadly. "The ship requires a life force to power its main weapon." "My life force." The Lightbringer rose from the ocean depths like a golden star. It was 3 times larger than any other Sentinel ship, with flowing lines that seemed both beautiful and deadly. Inside, Elon and Allison prepared for the final battle. "I'm going with you," Allison had insisted despite Elon's protests. "I've mastered the genetic connection better than anyone else." Earth's remaining defenses were mobilized. Every Sentinel pilot with enough training took to the skies in smaller vessels. Commander Baker coordinated the human military forces, now working together across nations. "Remember," Baker told his pilots, "we're the distraction. Keep the smaller Nexus ships busy while Elon and Dr. Wright go for the mothership." The Nexus Combined fleet filled the sky like dark clouds. At their center floated a massive ship that dwarfed all others. It pulsed with red energy that seemed to bend light around it. "That's our target," Elon said as the Lightbringer rose higher. "The control vessel, the source of their power." Allison sat beside him, connected to the ship's systems through her mind. "What exactly will happen when we use the main weapon?" "The weapon creates a resonance cascade," Elon explained. "It disrupts the energy pattern that the Void Heralds use to control their fleet. But it requires a compatible life force to shape the energy." "Your life force," Allison said quietly. "Yes." The battle began with fury and chaos. Earth's conventional weapons were mostly ineffective, but they occupied many enemy ships. The Sentinel vessels darted between larger Nexus ships, their blue weapons causing real damage. Samuel, Olivia, and Darnell led 3 squadrons, protecting Earth's atmosphere from enemy ships that broke through. Despite their best efforts, some Nexus vessels reached the surface, landing in cities around the world. The Lightbringer climbed higher, heading directly for the mothership. Enemy vessels swarmed toward them, sensing the threat. "Hold on," Elon warned as he guided their ship through impossible maneuvers. Blue energy beams fired from the Lightbringer, clearing a path. But with each ship they destroyed, Allison noticed Elon growing paler, his golden skin losing its glow. "You're weakening," she said with concern. "It doesn't matter," he replied. "We must reach the core." Finally, they broke through the defensive line. The mothership loomed before them, massive and threatening. Its surface shifted like something alive. There, Elon pointed to an opening near the center. "That's where we need to go." They flew into the heart of the enemy vessel. Inside was a vast chamber filled with pulsing red light. At its center floated a being unlike any Allison had seen. pure energy in a vaguely humanoid shape, crackling with power. The last true Void Herald, Elon said. It has consumed thousands of civilizations to reach this form. The being noticed them. The chamber shook as it gathered energy to attack. Now, Elon shouted. He placed his hands on the ship's control panel. Golden light flowed from his body into the systems. The Lightbringer began to glow brighter and brighter. Elon, Allison cried as his form began to fade, becoming transparent. It's all right, he said, his voice growing distant. This is why I was created, to end this threat, once and for all. A beam of golden light shot from the Lightbringer, striking the energy being. It screamed, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The red energy began to fragment, breaking apart. The resonance cascade is working, Elon said. His body was now barely visible. The controlling intelligence is being disrupted. Throughout space, the Nexus combined ships suddenly went dark. Without the central intelligence guiding them, they drifted powerless. Elon, don't go, Allison pleaded, tears in her eyes. I'm not leaving entirely. His voice came from all around her. My consciousness will survive within the Sentinel network. I will guide you, as humanity takes its place among the stars. His physical form disappeared completely, but the ship continued to function. Allison felt a new presence in her mind. Elon's consciousness, now part of the Sentinel system she was connected to. As she guided the Lightbringer back to Earth, she saw the enemy fleet drifting harmlessly. The planet was safe, but the victory had come at great cost. 1 month later, Allison stood on the deck of a new facility built to house and study the Sentinel technology. As Earth's first official protector, she now led the effort to understand their inheritance. We have much to learn, she told the gathered pilots and scientists. About the technology, about ourselves, and about the galaxy we're now part of. She felt Elon's presence in her mind, a gentle guidance as humanity took its first steps into a wider universe, no longer helpless, no longer alone, and ready to face whatever darkness might still lurk among the stars.